The story begins by showing a depraved virgin ghost named Shin Sunai, who often seduces many men by possessing various women because she believes that losing her virginity is the only way to resolve her grudge in the world so that she can peacefully go to heaven. Unfortunately, all her efforts always fail because every man who kisses her faints. On the other hand, at Sun Restaurant, chaos occurs as female employee Na Bong Soon falls asleep while working, causing Kung Soon Woo, the boss and chef of the restaurant, to scold his sous chef named Hugh Min Soo, who is deemed incompetent in managing his subordinates. After Soon Woo leaves, Min Soo vents his frustration to Bong Soon, who is always careless and falls asleep during the day. Bong Soon, who is a shy and quiet girl, can only apologize for her mistakes without explaining the reason why she often falls asleep. When she was a child, Bong Soon lived with her grandmother who worked as a shaman, so Bong Soon has the ability to see ghosts, which prevents her from sleeping at night. This eventually disturbs her activities during the day because she will continue to feel sleepy while working. Nevertheless, behind her clumsiness, Bong Soon secretly wants to become a chef, so she creates a personal blog containing various simple food recipes. Unexpectedly, Soon Woo is a loyal reader of Bong Soon's blog and always praises the recipes she shares with the readers. One day at the restaurant, a little boy accidentally bumps into Bong Soon while she is delivering soup to a restaurant guest, causing her to be splashed with the hot soup. Although she is not at fault, Bong Soon apologizes to the boy's mother, who is angry because Bong Soon is considered careless while working. At that moment, Soon Woo, who knows that Bong Soon is not at fault, then advises the boy not to run in public places, but the mother becomes even angrier at Soon Woo. Calmly, Soon Woo says he is just disciplining the boy as the mother did to Bong Soon. After that, Kam Eun-hee, the restaurant cashier, and Soon Woo's paralyzed sister, appears to try to intervene in the argument between her brother and the restaurant guest. Unfortunately, she is humiliated by the female guest, which makes Soon Woo even angrier and drives the customer away without caring about his image as a famous chef. When Soon Woo talked to Bong Soon, she continuously apologized without worrying about herself being hurt. Soon Woo then scolded her and expressed his hatred towards her attitude of always apologizing even though she was not at fault, and because of that, he asked Bong Soon to reconsider her dream of being part of the Sun Restaurant's kitchen. Unexpectedly, behind Soon Woo's often harsh words to others, he harbored bad memories of being bullied by his schoolmates. Unfortunately, Soon Woo's harsh words made Bong Soon decide to resign from the restaurant, even though there were many memories she had to let go. Since Bong Soon first worked at Sun Restaurant, she initially wanted to be a professional chef, but Bong Soon secretly fell in love with Soon Woo. Unfortunately, she had to let go of her feelings and bid farewell to the man she loved. The next day, Soon Woo and others saw Bong Soon's resignation letter, but at the same time they also realized that the food storage room key was taken by her. On the other hand, a shaman named So Bingo intended to capture Sunay, because she considered her presence always harmful to humans. Sunay then tried to avoid until she could escape from the shaman and possessed Bong Soon, who looked weak. Shortly after, So Jun, who was one of the staff at Sun Restaurant, approached Bong Soon, who was now possessed by Sunay, to ask for the key to the storage room. Wanting to avoid Bingo, Sunay immediately rode So Jun's motorcycle, which then took her to the restaurant where Soon Woo asked for the key to the storage room that Bong Soon had brought. Sunay, who did not know where Bong Soon had kept it, tried to avoid it until Soon Woo tried to snatch the bag she was carrying, causing Sunay to attack him. Seeing that, everyone felt strange about Bong Soon's different behavior, and luckily, Sunny accidentally got the key Soon Woo was looking for. Feeling ashamed of what she had done, Sunny tried to leave Bong Soon's body, but she couldn't do that, indicating that the body was compatible with Sunny's frequency. Nevertheless, Sunny still tried to get out of the body and caused Bong Soon to faint. When she came to her senses, Sunny was surrounded by So Jun and others, so she thought she could quickly resolve her grudge by sleeping with one of the men in the restaurant. Shortly after, Sunny apologized to Soon Woo about the previous incident, and after a while of chatting, Soon Woo finally asked her to work again at the restaurant, even though she was placed as a dishwasher. After Sunny started working, everyone including Soon Woo was surprised by Bong Soon's change in attitude. As she dared to fight back if someone scolded her, even Sunny scolded Soon Woo, who kept grumbling. On the other hand, Soon Woo faced an assault charge from a customer who had been expelled from the restaurant by him. Police officer Choi Sung-jae, who is Eun-hee's husband, tried to comfort Soon Woo. Meanwhile, Sunny joined in the conversation about the assault charge, which made Min-soo and others realize that she had no right to mock Sunwoo, because she was the main cause of the charge. Realizing that she was still in Bong-soon's body, Sunmi then pretended to just remember the incident and showed her flirtatious attitude to Seo-joon. Because of the continuous odd behavior exhibited by Sunmi, Min-soo, and others, discussed Bong-soon's different behavior, which they considered to be a split personality. Meanwhile, Sunmi suddenly received a call from the owner of the room rented by Bong-soon and was asked to move out immediately if she didn't pay the room rent. After receiving the call, Sunmi then went back to Bong-soon's rented room, where she was surprised to find Bong-soon keeping various items usually used to expel ghosts. The next day, news of Sunwoo's assaults spread on the internet, causing the number of customers at Sun Restaurant to decrease. This was exploited by a customer who acted arrogantly by asking Sunmi to heat up his food. Because the customer kept insisting, Sunmi complied with the customer's request. Sunwoo, who found out, then threw away the food that Sunmi was heating up while scolding her for daring to touch his cooking. At that moment, Sunmi continued to defend herself, and because of this incident, Sunwoo punished her by banning her from approaching the kitchen area. Shortly after, Sunwoo's anger peaked after he learned that his mother, Jo Hae-young, had apologized and offered a settlement to the customer who filed a complaint against her son. She did this to prevent the complaint from dragging on, which could damage Sunwoo's reputation. Some time later, Lee So-young, Sunwoo's friend who works at a television company, met with him and offered a casting for a cooking competition on a television program. Hearing this opportunity, Sunwoo gladly accepted it to improve his image after the incident. When he returned to the restaurant, Sunwoo asked Min-soo to be his assistant in the cooking contest on television. Meanwhile, Sunmi continued to sarcastically taunt Sunwoo for still forbidding her from approaching the kitchen. On the day of the shoot, Min-soo, who had arrived at the location, forgot to bring a knife, so he asked Sunmi, who was at the restaurant, to bring it to him. Quickly, Sunmi delivered the knife and met Sunwoo, who was getting ready. Meanwhile, Min-soo was in the lobby, and when he tried to re-enter the shooting area, he was not allowed because he had forgotten his visitor card in the dressing room. At the same time, Sunwoo tried to call Min-soo to return before the shooting started. When he unable to reach Min-soo, Sunwoo had to make Sunmi his assistant cook on condition that she couldn't do anything. Sunmi then followed Sunwoo's orders, but his dish was almost ruined if Sunmi hadn't quickly transformed their burnt rice into grilled rice, which eventually led Sunwoo to the next round. Meanwhile, Min-soo, who had just entered the shooting area, was surprised to find out that the shooting process was already finished, especially when he also heard that in the next round, chefs were not allowed to change assistants, which meant Sunmi would again assist Sunwoo in the next cooking contest. Meanwhile, with Sunmi's success in saving Sunwoo's dish, he finally allowed her to return to the kitchen. That night, as Sunmi walked home, she accidentally saw a man named Shin Kyung-mo drunk on the roadside, and she escorted him to the police station. At that moment, Sunmi, who saw Song-jae for the first time, seemed captivated by him. Shortly after, Kyung-mo's father, Shin Myung-ho, came to pick up his son who was still unconscious. When Sunmi saw this, she remembered that the two men in front of her were her younger brother and her father. At that moment, Sunmi felt touched to see them both again. But unfortunately, after following them both, Myung-ho seemed to not be doing well, because the family restaurant he managed now appeared to be on the verge of bankruptcy. In the past, Sunmi also secretly liked Song-jae, who at that time was not yet married to Eun-hee. Although all of Sunmi's memories had returned, she still hadn't remembered the incident that took her life. The next day, Sunmi visited Myung-ho again and gave him a lot of food, which made him happy. But when she met Kyung-mo, they argued because Kyung-mo didn't like her constantly providing assistance. Nevertheless, Sunmi continued to take food ingredients from Sun Restaurant, which she then gave to her father. This made Sunwoo start to realize the disappearance of a lot of their food ingredients, so all the restaurant staff were gathered for interrogation, including Sunmi. When Sunwoo brought up the issue of missing caviar eggs, Min-soo confessed to taking them, and because of that confession, Sunwoo accused Min-soo of taking other food ingredients, which made Min-soo angry. Following this, Min-soo decided to resign from the restaurant. On the other hand, Sunmi felt guilty and didn't expect the situation to become complicated, especially after Min-soo left. The kitchen of the restaurant became chaotic, because there was no one directly coordinating the employees. Until one day, Kyung-mo, upset with Sunmi's behavior, when she returning all the food ingredients she sent to Sun Restaurant. He then asking her to stop giving anything to his family. With that incident, Sunwoo finally found out that Sun-ae was the one who had been stealing food ingredients in the restaurant. Sun-ae then explained that she only felt sorry for Myung-ho's small restaurant. At the same time, Sunwoo found Sun-ae's bold behavior strange, considering that even Bong-soon, whom he knew, didn't dare to look into his eyes. After learning the truth, Sunwoo finally asked for it to remain a secret between the two of them. Meanwhile, Min-soo was seen receiving many offers from other restaurants, but he chose to work as a car washer until one day, Sunwoo met Min-soo to ask him to return to Sun Restaurant. Hearing this, Min-soo seemed happy, and they had forgiven each other for the misunderstanding that occurred. With Min-soo's return to the restaurant, Sunwoo planned to go to dinner with the team outside until Sun-ae was surprised by Hae-young's arrival with Bingo. Fortunately, Bingo didn't realize Sun-ae's presence, who possessed Bong-soon's body, so Sun-ae didn't need to flee. Shortly after, Sunwoo and the others had finished dinner, and Sun-ae, who had drunk too much, ended up drunk until she teased Sunwoo, making him uncomfortable. Fortunately, he managed to avoid Sun-ae and left her after receiving news from So-young, who was scared after hitting a cat. Sunwoo then hurried to meet So-young and made sure she was okay. It turns out, Sunwoo secretly liked So-young since they were in college, but because Sunwoo's friend also liked her, he chose never to express his feelings. Meanwhile, Sun-ae, still drunk, intended to go see Sung-jae at the police station, where she just found out that Eun-hee and Sung-jae were married. Knowing this, Sun-ae felt heartbroken and began to realize that she was not human, but a ghost inhabiting a human body, so she felt unworthy of expecting love. Upon arriving at Bong-soon's rented room, Sun-ae was evicted by the building owner because she hadn't paid the rent. Sun-ae was forced to take some of Bong-soon's valuable items and sit in the park while pondering where she should go. At the same time, Sun-ae received a call from Bong-soon's grandmother, so Sun-ae tried to speak like Bong-soon to avoid suspicion. After ending the call, Sun-ae decided to stay at the restaurant, but when she sneaked into the restaurant, she was caught by Sunwoo, who lived on the upper floor of his restaurant. At that moment, Sun-ae tried to explain her situation of being homeless, but unfortunately, Sunwoo didn't allow her to sleep in his restaurant, even though she tried to act cute to charm him. After that, Sun-ae had to sleep in the sauna that night. The next day, Sun-ae, who was about to leave for work, accidentally met Sung-jae, who then invited her to have a meal together in front of Minimarket. Although initially Sun-ae tried to keep her distance, Sung-jae's attention melted her heart. When Sun-ae arrived at the restaurant, she still seemed upset with Sunwoo, while he seemed to receive a phone call from So-young asking him to do a short shoot with Sun-ae for the cooking contest he was participating in. After that, Sunwoo and Sun-ae then hurried to meet So-young and her senior to discuss the shoot. During the discussion, Sun-ae found out that Sunwoo was jealous seeing So-young being flirted with by her senior. Even he deliberately hid the senior's car key that fell onto the sofa when the senior left the room to take a phone call. After the shoot was over, the senior was confused looking for his car key, even though he had kept gifts and flowers for his wife's birthday in the car. That night, So-young invited Sunwoo and Sun-ae to eat at a diner. During the meal, So-young excused herself to go to the toilet, so Sun-ae took the opportunity to discuss Sunwoo's feelings for So-young. He tried to deny it, but Sun-ae quickly took the senior's car key from Sunwoo's pants pocket, making him unable to deny it anymore. Sun-ae then offered a deal to Sunwoo that she would keep the secret of his liking for So-young, on the condition that he allowed Sun-ae to sleep in the restaurant temporarily. In the end, Sunwoo couldn't refuse the offer to ensure Sun-ae kept his secret. The next day, Sun-ae almost got caught sleeping in the restaurant by Min-soo and the others, but fortunately, she was clever enough to come up with an excuse so that the other restaurant staff didn't suspect her at all. After the restaurant closed, Sunwoo, feeling unwell, decided to rest. Sun-ae, worried about him, decided to make porridge and tried to wake him up to eat. Before she left, Sunwoo suddenly saw Sun-ae as So-young and kissed her. Although surprised, Sun-ae eventually enjoyed it until Sunwoo came to his senses and kicked her out of his room. Outside Sunwoo's room, Sun-ae realized that he didn't faint like other men she had kissed before, so she felt that Sunwoo could end her grudge peacefully and go to heaven. After the incident, Sun-ae has been teasing and inviting Sunwoo to sleep together, making him uncomfortable and always avoiding her flirtatious looks. That day, Sun-ae continued to be aggressive towards Sunwoo, making him wonder about her contrasting behavior compared to Bong-soon, who was shy. Unfortunately, because she kept trying to get close to Sunwoo, who was unwell, Sun-ae eventually caught a fever, and in that condition, she was able to leave Bong-soon's body. At the same time, Sunwoo, seeing Bong Soon unconscious on the restaurant floor, immediately took her to the hospital. When she regained consciousness, Bong Soon was confused when she woke up in the hospital and learned that more than 2 weeks had passed since she resigned from Sun Restaurant. Bong Soon then returned to her rented room, which turned out to have been occupied by someone else, so she immediately contacted her grandmother to tell her about all the strange events. Her grandmother then suspected that Bong Soon had been possessed by a ghost, because she was also suspicious of Bong Soon's strange behavior when she called the other day. Meanwhile, Sunny tried to ask about Bong Soon's whereabouts from Sunwoo, even though she knew he couldn't see or hear her. Sunny then intended to possess So Young so that she could sleep with Sunwoo and end her grudge in the world. But strangely, Sunny couldn't possess So Young's body. On the other hand, Sung Jae felt strange after he met Bong Soon again, when she didn't remember their time together at the mini-market a few days ago. Sung Jae then took Bong Soon to Sun Restaurant, which confused her even more because she was still working there. Besides her co-workers, Bong Soon also met Sunny and pretended not to be able to see the ghost who kept following her wherever Bong Soon went, especially since Sunny knew that Bong Soon could see her. Feeling uncomfortable with Sunny's presence, Bong Soon tried to avoid the ghost and made her colleagues wonder about her strange behavior. Nevertheless, Sunny didn't give up and asked if she could borrow Bong Soon's body until Bong Soon got angry and accidentally caused a small fire when she directed the torch she was holding to the flammable area. Bong Soon couldn't explain the reason for the fire and could only apologize to Sunwoo and the others. On the other hand, Sunwoo, realizing Bong Soon's extreme change in behavior, took the initiative to bring her to the hospital, where she was diagnosed by a doctor with bipolar disorder due to stress affecting her mood. This reminded Sunwoo of his harsh treatment towards her and made him feel responsible for Bong Soon's condition. With that guilt, Sunwoo began to treat Bong Soon well, even providing her with a place to stay and making porridge from a recipe she had written on her blog. On the other hand, Sunny, who came to her house, looked sad after seeing Myung-ho drinking and feeling sorrowful remembering his late daughter. The next morning, Sunwoo reminded Bong Soon about the shooting they would do that day. But Bong Soon had no idea about the cooking contest she was participating in. At the event location, Bong Soon appeared nervous because she lacked confidence in her cooking abilities, especially since in that day's cooking challenge, the head chef and assistant chef would take turns cooking. At the same time, Sunny found Myung-ho unconscious at home, causing her to panic, especially since she couldn't touch anything to call an ambulance. In the midst of despair, Sunat remembered Bong Soon and hurried to the shooting location of the cooking contest event. Meanwhile, Bong Soon, who had her turn, did nothing until she chose to run out of the shooting location. Outside, Bong Soon continued to blame herself for her failure while Sunny, who had just arrived, tried to ask for permission to borrow Bong Soon's body. Since Bong Soon ignored her, Sunny daringly entered Bong Soon's body and immediately called an ambulance to come to Myung-ho's house. With her efforts, Sunny managed to save her father. Shortly after, she returned to the cooking arena and resumed shooting, and after the shooting was finished, Sunny, still in Bong Soon's body, ran to the hospital to check on Myung-ho, even accidentally calling him father. At that moment, Myung-ho, who had regained consciousness, said that although he didn't recognize the girl in front of him, he was happy because her presence relieved his longing for his late daughter. Turning to So Young, with the previous shooting mistake made by Bong Soon, she then suggested that Sunwoo replace the assistant chef in the cooking contest. Upon hearing this suggestion, Sunwoo firmly asserted that he would not exchange his assistant. After his conversation with So Young, Sunwoo hurried home, but as Bong Soon did not return, he continued to wait for her. When Bong Soon, possessed by Sunny, returned home, she was delighted to see Sunwoo waiting for her, and with her flirtatious behavior, she tried to tease him. Sunwoo, noticing Bong Soon's change in behavior, thought her bipolar disorder was resurfacing. To stop Sunny's behavior, Sunwoo invited her to discuss her cooking talents that could be developed, offering her training to become a chef. Hearing that, Sunny agreed because she could get closer to Sunwoo. On the first day of training, Sunny continued to try to seduce Sunwoo, and even after the training ended, she continued to imagine being intimate with him. The next day, Sunwoo forbade Sunny from telling anyone that he was giving her cooking training because he was worried other employees would misunderstand them. Sunny appeared to agree while continuing to flirt with him. Shortly after, Sunwoo invited Sunny to go shopping for groceries together, which made Choi Ji-won suspicious of their closeness. On the way to the market, Sunwoo and Sunhae met Sungjae, who found it strange how Bong-soon's cheerful attitude had returned. After exchanging greetings, they continued on their journey, and when Sunwoo stopped for dinner with Sunhae at a restaurant, he accidentally met his former schoolmate who used to bully him. Sunwoo then tried to be friendly towards his friend and invited him and other classmates to come to some restaurant. On another day, Sunwoo's school friend finally visited the restaurant and was warmly welcomed by all the staff. In the kitchen, Min-soo found Sunwoo's excessive behavior odd, as he asked them to use the most expensive ingredients to entertain Sunwoo's school friend. Shortly after, the person who used to bully Sunwoo, named Yoon Cheolmin, finally arrived. Although Cheolmin realized he had wronged Sunwoo, he tried to act normal and considered it all in the past. Sunwoo, still resentful, continued to sarcastically mention all the bad things Cheolmin had done, but this was perceived by the others as a joke. Feeling that Sunwoo was still upset about his past behavior, Cheolmin chose to leave early. Meanwhile, Sunhae secretly overheard Sunwoo's friends discussing the bullying Sunwoo often faced at school. Sunhae then tried to cheer up Sunwoo, who was sitting alone in the park, and with her playful attitude, she finally managed to make him forget his problems. On another day, Sunwoo seemed to be talking with Cheolmin on the phone, and during the conversation, Cheolmin apologized for his past mistreatment of Sunwoo. Although still feeling hurt by Cheolmin's behavior, Sunwoo said that all those things should be forgotten as they belong to the past. After work, Sunwoo invited Sunhae to go to the Hongdae area so she could taste various foods to enhance her knowledge of culinary. In the middle of the journey to the meeting place, Sunhae accidentally met Bingo, who had realized that she was possessing Bong-soon's body. Knowing this, Sunhae immediately ran and freed herself from Bong-soon's body and decided to get on a moving bus. At the same time, Bong-soon, standing on the street, felt confused about why she was there until she finally met Sunwoo, who had been waiting for her. Bong-soon then apologized to Sunwoo and made him think that she had returned to normal. After that, they both then went to a restaurant where Sunwoo explained the recipe of the food they ordered to Bong-soon. At that moment, she felt happy with Sunwoo's increasingly kind treatment towards her. Meanwhile, Sunhae, who had been captured by Bingo, informed the shaman that she had found the man who could end her grudge. Unfortunately, after Bingo found out that the man was Sunwoo, she forbade Sunhae to do so because Sunwoo was Hae-dung's son, who was her client. Bingo then offered Sunhae to perform a death ritual so that the virgin ghost could return to heaven immediately. But Sunhae refused, especially since the method was known to be very painful for ghosts. The next day, Sunwoo invited Bong-soon to exercise together by the river, but he ended up teaching her how to ride a bicycle after finding out she couldn't. Shortly after Sunwoo taught Bong-soon, they both caught a man stealing bike seats, so they immediately chased the thief. Luckily, Bong-soon managed to catch the thief and handed him over to Sungjae. Sunwoo, who was also with Bong-soon, praised her bravery in front of Sungjae. Seeing this, Sungjae began to suspect the closeness between Sunwoo and Bong-soon, which seemed like that of a couple. Upon arriving at the restaurant, Sunwoo seemed to praise Bong-soon again, who was becoming more confident and not always apologizing to others when she was not at fault. Shortly after, So-young approached them and felt jealous of Sunwoo's closeness to Bong-soon, especially after learning that Bong-soon now lived next door to Sunwoo. Meanwhile, Bingo forced Sunhae to perform the death ritual, but the frightened Sunhae accidentally attacked Bingo like an evil spirit. After the ritual was cancelled, Sunhae apologized to Bingo, and the shaman warned Sunhae to end her grudge immediately, or she would be forced to perform the death ritual. Bingo also added that Sunhae only had 3 months left before her third death warning would be issued. If during this time Sunhae didn't descend at heaven, she might turn into an evil spirit. Back to Bong-soon, who was happy to receive training from Sunwoo. After the training was finished, she accidentally met Sungjae, who invited her to have a meal together. Bong-soon agreed, but because Sungjae had to file a case report at the office, he then asked her to wait for him at the cafe. Shortly after Sungjae joined her at the cafe, he then became curious in asking why Bong-soon's behavior sometimes changed. Since she couldn't tell him she was possessed by a ghost, Bong-soon tried to find another reason that would make Sungjae more suspicious of her. On another day, So-young went on a blind date at Sun Restaurant, hoping to make Sunwoo jealous, but after the date ended, Sunwoo instead supported her, making her angry. After that, she chose to reject the man she had gone on a date with earlier. Returned to Sunhae, who was starting to worry that she would become an evil spirit. She seemed to seek out Bong Soon for help. However, Bong Soon kept refusing until she accidentally dropped her diary, which contained her feelings for Sunwoo. Upon learning this, Sun-8 said she would help Bong Soon get Sunwoo on the condition that Bong Soon agreed to be possessed by her or resolve her grudge after having an intimate moment with Sunwoo. Bong Soon still seemed hesitant about Sun-8's offer, so she rejected the virgin ghost's request. That night, a drunk So-young approached Sunwoo and confessed her feelings by kissing him. Unexpectedly, Bong Soon secretly witnessed Sunwoo and So-young kissing, causing her to fear losing him and decide to agree to the deal Sun-8 had offered earlier. Sun-8, happy, then showed her family's restaurant and made plans with Bong Soon to achieve their respective goals together. The next morning, Bong Soon, who had been possessed by Sun-8, teased Sunwoo again, making him think that Bong Soon's mental illness was acting up. Similarly, Min-soo and others were surprised why Bong Soon had returned to her talkative self. Some time later, Min-soo was seen looking for friends for his vacation, but unfortunately, his friends, including his colleagues at the restaurant, rejected Min-soo's invitation. Without losing hope, Min-soo suggested to Sunwoo that all the Sun restaurant staff go on vacation together to improve teamwork. Sunwoo, influenced by Min-soo's words, finally agreed to the vacation idea. The following day, So-young met Sunwoo to discuss the events of the previous night, but he acted as if nothing had happened, causing So-young to think he had rejected her feelings. On the other hand, Sun-8, still possessing Bong Soon, visited her father and younger brother to give them snacks for the night. After returning from Mengho's house, Sun-8 left Bong Soon's body and told her about the vacation the Sun restaurant team was planning. They both then thought about using this vacation time to get closer to Sunwoo. While discussing this, Sun-8 saw a different side of Bong Soon for the first time, who appeared flirtatious. When the holiday arrived, all the restaurant staff seemed to go to a lodge where the owner's daughter, named Yoon Cha-hee, appeared cold towards Bong Soon because she knew that Sun-8 was possessing Bong Soon's body. That day, everyone seemed to enjoy their time together, while Sun-8, seeing Sunwoo leaving, immediately chased after him, and they ended up spending time biking together. Sun-8 even decided to ride a bike, which surprised Sunwoo, especially when he found out that Bong Soon, whom he knew, couldn't ride a bike. After a while of cycling around and buying beer for their colleagues at the lodge, they decided to return, only to accidentally meet So-young, who claimed to be conducting field research there. So-young's presence seemed to annoy Sun-8, and she ended up having to go back to the lodge alone, where Min-soo and others were waiting for her. On the other hand, Eun-hee was getting ready to attend a reunion with her friends. Just before Eun-hee left, she met Bingo, who came to the house upon Hae-young's invitation. At that moment, Bingo briefly locked eyes with Sun-jae, which made her feel scared as if there were secrets he was hiding. During the dinner party, Eun-hee's friends lamented her inability to become a ballet dancer, even though she was once known as a famous ballerina. It turns out, Eun-hee's dream of becoming a ballerina was shattered after she was involved in a hit-and-run accident, which until now, the police have been unable to solve the case and apprehend the perpetrator. Hearing her wife's friends mocking the hit-and-run perpetrator, Sun-jae walked out of the house and deliberately scratched Eun-hee's friend's car. Returned to the lodge, Bong Soon, still possessed by Sun-8, tried to keep Sunwoo away from So-young. After seeing So-young return to her room, Sun-8 secretly entered Sunwoo's room, and he, thinking Bong Soon was ill, immediately chased her away, as she was being excessively flirtatious with him. He even thought Bong Soon's bipolar disorder was worsening. At the same time, they both heard the lodge owner looking for Cha-hee, who had gone missing. Sunwoo and Sun-8 immediately helped search for Cha-hee around the lodge until Sun-8 found Cha-hee, who then led her to the cold storage room. After seeing Sun-8 enter the storage room, Cha-hee suddenly locked the room from the outside, saying that ghosts should be locked up to prevent them from bothering humans. When Cha-hee reunited with her parents, Sunwoo and the others were seen looking for Bong Soon, who had suddenly disappeared. In the storage room, Sun-8 exited Bong Soon's body and tried to find a way out, but she struggled to touch heavy objects, so she could only use a small firecracker in hopes that Sunwoo and the others would find Bong Soon locked in the cold storage room. Luckily, Sunwoo saw the firecracker, prompting him to rush to the location where it was lit until he found Bong Soon. Worried, Sunwoo hugged Bong Soon, who was now possessed by Sun-8 again, and then carried her back to the lodge. Min-soo, along with other staff who saw this, was puzzled by Sunwoo's caring behavior towards Bong-soon. At the same time, So-yeon became even more jealous seeing their closeness. Upon returning from vacation, Bong-soon, still possessed by Sun-ae, received training from Sunwoo again. Because she wasn't taking the training seriously, Sun-ae carelessly caused both her and Sunwoo to get splashed with water. He then helped Sun-ae dry her hair until he got carried away in the moment and kissed her. At the same time, Sun-ae exited Bong-soon's body and began to feel jealous upon seeing Bong-soon being affectionate with Sunwoo. Even though this shouldn't happen, because Sun-ae needed to resolve her grudge to peacefully ascend to heaven. Meanwhile, Bong-soon, who came to her senses, immediately apologized and left Sunwoo. He then chased after Bong-soon to express his feelings, which were eventually accepted by her. Sun-ae, witnessing this, tried to remind herself that she was just a ghost who shouldn't fall in love with a human. Shortly after, Sun-ae approached and teased Bong-soon, who was now officially in a relationship with Sunwoo. The next day, Sunwoo asked Bong-soon, who was now possessed by Sun-ae, to keep their relationship a secret from the other staff, but she continued to follow him, leading the other staff to think that Bong-soon was borrowing money from Sunwoo. During break time, Sun-ae met Bingo with Bong-soon's body in front of the convenience store to reveal that she would soon resolve her grudge. Hearing this, Bingo felt happy and supported Sun-ae's plan, so the ghost could ascend to heaven before becoming an evil spirit. At the police station, Hun Jin-goy, Sung-jae's colleague, mentioned that he had received information that the surveillance camera pointing to the location of Eun-hee's hit-and-run case had been repaired, so he intended to retrieve the footage from the day of the accident. Sung-jae, upon hearing this, appeared displeased, and as Jin-goy was about to leave to carry out his task, he was suddenly attacked by Sung-jae in the parking lot, resulting in Jin-goy being rushed to the hospital. Upon regaining consciousness, Jin-goy began to suspect Sung-jae as the assailant, because Sung-jae was wearing the same watch as the attacker. Unfortunately, Jin-goy's severe injuries prevented the police from taking any action. Meanwhile, Sun-ae, walking together with Sunwoo, continued to flirt with him despite his constant refusal to sleep together. Sunwoo then spoke to Sun-ae to express that he wanted to pursue a healthy and gradual relationship. He admitted that he didn't want to rush into things, but Sun-ae had a different opinion, leading to an argument between them. At the same time, Sung-jae and Eun-hee were enjoying their time together. Reminiscent of his past when he was neglected by his foster parents, who had their own biological son. Sung-jae's youthful anger even led him to nearly kill his stepbrother. At school, Sung-jae was also a victim of bullying by his friends, leaving him feeling like he had failed at life, until one day his own anger attracted an evil spirit to possess him. The next day, at the restaurant, So-jun and others forgot Min-soo's birthday and earned a scolding from the head chef. Because of this, So-jun and his friends, including Sun-ae, quickly organized a simple birthday surprise with a fake designer belt as a gift, which Min-soo mistook for the original. Meanwhile, Sunwoo, unable to join Min-soo's birthday dinner celebration, was seen giving his credit card to Min-soo. After work, Min-soo and all his coworkers went out for drinks until late at night. Shortly after, Sunwoo started to worry about Bong-soon, who hadn't returned home, and upon receiving a credit card bill at a hotel, Sunwoo immediately went to find her. Arriving at the hotel, he quietly took Bong-soon from a room where Min-soo and others were unconscious due to drunkenness. When Bong-soon, possessed by Sun-ae, began to wake up, Sunwoo scolded her after being jealous seeing her sleeping in the same room as another man. Because of this, Sun-ae appeared happy to hear Sunwoo's confession, and they eventually reconciled, although he reaffirmed his desire to take their relationship slowly so they could be together for a long time. Unexpectedly, Sunwoo's words touched Sun-ae, and she began to realize her feelings and her fear of losing him, especially since she only had a short time to be by Sunwoo's side. Shortly after, they were both surprised by the arrival of Hae-dong, who questioned Bong-soon's presence at the restaurant. Sunwoo then claimed he had assigned a task to Bong-soon, but Hae-dong didn't believe her son's explanation. As they slept, Sun-ae exited Bong-soon's body and slept beside Sunwoo, watching him as he slept. Sun-ae reminded herself not to overstep her boundaries as she was just a ghost. A little while later, Bong-soon woke up and met Sun-ae outside the room. At the same time, Sunwoo also woke up and assumed Bong-soon couldn't sleep because of the heat. He took the initiative to bring a fan to Bong-soon's room, making Sun-ae jealous as she watched. The next day, Sung-jae was seen escorting Eun-hee to the restaurant, where he saw Bong-soon humming like Sun-ae did in the past. This raised Sung-jae's suspicions about Bong-soon, prompting him to investigate her. Sun-woo then took Bong-soon, possessed by Sun-ae, to the market where they encountered Myung-ho, whom Sun-ae introduced as the owner of a small restaurant in the market. At that moment, Sun-woo found Sun-ae's excessive behavior towards Myung-ho odd, but after Myung-ho shared about his daughter who passed away 3 years ago, Sun-woo began to understand his girlfriend's actions. Returning to Sun Restaurant, Sun-woo experienced stomach pain due to overeating at Myung-ho's restaurant earlier. This made Sun-ae worried, and accidentally, So-jun saw their closeness, leading him to realize the relationship between the two. That night, because Sun-woo was still unwell, Sun-ae, who initially intended to buy medicine, instead asked him to accompany her to a playground. At that moment, Sun-woo's sweet attitude seemed to prompt Sun-ae within Bong-soon's body to express her genuine feelings. He then invited her to go on vacation together, as Sun-ae had wished for so long. After they set the vacation date, Sun-woo felt excitedly awaiting the day, while Sun-ae, out of Bong-soon's body, appeared saddened, and then went to meet Bingo to confide in her concerns about falling for Sun-woo and not wanting to leave him. Hearing this, Bingo reminded Sun-ae to forget those feelings before Sun-ae turned into a greedy evil spirit wanting to live in a human body. The next day, Sun-ae made time to meet her father before going on vacation because she planned to end her grudge and go to heaven. That night, when Sun-woo and Sun-ae were about to leave for the station, Hae-young, who was drunk, suddenly called Sun-woo to pick her up. Because of this, he had to exchange his departure time with Sun-ae. Unfortunately, upon arriving at the location Hae-young mentioned, Sun-woo actually met So-young, who wanted to express her feelings to him. Before she could say anything, Sun-woo cut off So-young's conversation by admitting he liked someone else. Meanwhile, Sun-ae chose not to go to the station because she wanted to have more time with Sun-woo. When she returned home, she was surprised to find Sun-woo also didn't go to the station, so they both ended up camping on the roof. At that moment, Sun-woo seemed to be getting carried away by the atmosphere, but Sun-ae suddenly stopped him and left him alone in the tent. She then exited Bong-soon's body and sat in the garden where Bong-soon thanked Sun-ae for all her help. Meanwhile, in Sun-ae's heart, she could only apologize to Bong-soon for not being able to be honest about her feelings for Sun-woo. At the same time, Sun-woo worried about Bong-soon who hadn't returned, until he was relieved when she came back and lied that she had stomach pain earlier. On another day, Bong-soon's room was flooded due to a leak from the heavy rain. Bong-soon, possessed by Sun-ae, reluctantly slept in Sun-woo's room, which made them both feel awkward until she kicked him. Sun-ae then agreed to take their relationship slowly as Sun-woo had previously requested. On the other hand, after Hae-young learned that Sun-woo rejected So-young because of Bong-soon, she immediately met Bong-soon and asked her to date someone else. Sun-woo, witnessing this, felt annoyed by his mother's actions. His concern for Bong-soon made Sun-woo lose focus while cooking, causing the pan he was using to accidentally injure So-jun's waist. Despite this, So-jun tried to keep it secret because he feared Sun-woo would feel guilty toward him. So-jun then conveyed this to Bong-soon, still possessed by Sun-ae, as she helped him apply medicine to his burn. At the same time, Sun-woo suddenly entered the warehouse where they both were and misunderstood it after hearing Seo-jin's painful voice. On the other hand, Sun-woo felt uneasy again when the employees teased Bong-soon and So-jun, who were considered suitable as a couple. Because of this, Sun-woo ignored Sun-ae who tried to approach him, even scolding her in front of everyone just because she didn't do her job well. As punishment, Sun-woo ordered her to buy groceries. Arriving at the market, Sun-ae met Myung-ho, who then told her about his daughter's death after doing the unthinkable. Sun-ae felt incredulous about the story and tried to remember her past data, while planning to celebrate Myung-ho's birthday by going on a vacation out of town together. On the other hand, feeling that there was something odd about her death, Sun-ae then asked Sung-jae for help in investigating her death by giving him her diary. Sung-jae, who had been possessed by an evil spirit, asserted that Sun-ae's death was indeed after doing the unthinkable. This was evidenced by the last message sent by Sun-ae before she died. Meanwhile, Sun-woo finally learned that So-jun had suffered burns because of him. So-jun also admitted to asking Bong-soon not to tell Sun-woo about it. Upon learning the truth, Sun-woo felt guilty towards him, but upon arriving at the restaurant, he looked gloomy, after thinking that his girlfriend was angry with him. That night, Sun-ae, curious about the cause of her death, chose to left Bong Soon's body to investigate. Shortly after, Soon Woo approached Bong Soon with flowers and gave her a necklace as an apology. Bong Soon felt confused by Soon Woo's sweet gestures because she had no idea what had happened when Sunny possessed her. Nevertheless, she said she forgave him, which relieved Soon Woo. On the other hand, Sunny, seeing the romance between them, suddenly turned into an evil spirit and pushed Bong Soon, causing her to fall. After realizing her wicked act, Sunny immediately left out of embarrassment for harming others. She then wrote a letter to Bong Soon to express her gratitude and confess her feelings for Soon Woo, which made her afraid of turning into an evil spirit. With the letter, Sunny was determined to leave Bong Soon's life and hoped that Bong Soon could be happy with Soon Woo. After reading the letter, Bong Soon went to look for Sunny. Meanwhile, Soon Woo, unable to find Bong Soon in her room, worriedly went out to search for her. At a crossroads, Bong Soon met Soon Woo, who looked anxious about her, so she immediately ran to hug him and promised to always cherish her feelings for him. The next day, Sunny was at Bingo's residence, lay silently without speaking to the shaman. Meanwhile, Soon Woo was happy to see Bong Soon's return to normal, but their intimacy was secretly observed by Choi Ji-won, who later informed Min Soo and others. Unfortunately, they did not believe Ji-won's words except for So-jun, who chose not to comment on his boss's relationship. On the other hand, Soon Woo invited Bong Soon to enjoy her favorite food at the market, but unexpectedly the food was Sunny's favorite, which Bong Soon disliked, so she reluctantly ate it and later vomited in the toilet. After returning from the market, Soon Woo suddenly asked Bong Soon to make an appetizer for the next day's menu. However, Bong Soon's cooking skills was mostly under Sunny's influence, which made her feel insecure. Nevertheless, Soon Woo insisted that she do it, so she tried to make the appetizer all night until she finally succeeded in making a dish that the customers liked. Knowing this, Soon Woo was pleased and praised Bong Soon for her good work. A few days later, a television program was scheduled to shoot at Sun Restaurant, and So Young's presence at the restaurant led Min Soo to set her up with Soon Woo. On the other hand, Yoo Rum, the PD of the television program, was seen instructing Bong Soon to do many things that shouldn't have been her responsibility, but to maintain the restaurant's reputation, she reluctantly complied. Knowing this, Soon Woo appeared upset and disagreed with Yoo Rum's treatment of his girlfriend, so he eventually informed everyone that Bong Soon was his girlfriend and asked them not to underestimate her. His Min Soo and other employees, upon hearing this, seemed shocked as they couldn't believe Soon Woo would be romantically involved with Bong Soon, who always caused trouble. Meanwhile, at Bingo's residence, Sunny finally rose and asked Bingo to perform a death ritual for her. At the same time, Bong Soon's status as Soon Woo's girlfriend prompted the staff to try to be kind to her. Soon Woo also apologized to her for announcing their relationship without her consent, but she didn't mind it at all. Switching to Sunny, she visited Myung-ho to bid farewell before performing the death ritual. At that moment, Sunny also planned to meet Soon Woo for the last time. At the same time, Bong Soon was having drinks with So Young, and after chatting with Bong Soon for quite some time, So Young finally understood why Soon Woo fell for Bong Soon, who had a unique personality. Shortly after, as Bong Soon walked home, remembering her past when she was ostracized by her friends because she could see ghosts, she now tried to make herself happy by fighting for Soon Woo without feeling guilty towards Sunny, who also liked him. When Bong Soon walked through an alley, a car appeared to be about to hit her, and fortunately, she was saved by Sunny, who accidentally saw Bong Soon on her way to meet Soon Woo. At that moment, Bong Soon thanked and apologized to Sunny, but Sunny instead said that she should be the one apologizing to Bong Soon and hoped that Bong Soon could live without regrets. After finishing her words, Sunny decided to leave, and on the way, she actually saw Sonjae as the driver who almost hit Bong Soon. Feeling suspicious about the incident, Sunny abandoned her plan to perform the death ritual and informed Bingo about the recent event she experienced. Meanwhile, Bong Soon, who met Soon Woo, went to a hill that Sunny wanted to visit with him when she was in Bong Soon's body. At that moment, Soon Woo expressed his gratitude to Bong Soon for comforting him when he remembered the bullying he experienced in the past. After hearing all of that, Bong Soon realized that she wasn't always the one by Soon Woo's side, even not the one loved by him. Therefore, she told him about her ability to see ghosts and about Sunna, who had been possessing her body all this time. Bong Soon added that most likely the woman Soon Woo had been loving all this time was the ghostly figure of Sunny, not herself as Bong Soon. Soon-woo was confused by Bong-soon's confession, who then left him crying. Shortly after, Soon-woo tried to find Bong-soon, and upon finding her, he asked again about all the stories she had just told. She then explained everything again until Soon-woo realized that Bong-soon's personality became cheerier when she was possessed by Sunnae, not because of her bipolar disorder. Bong-soon also informed him that the ghost Sunnae was Myung-ho's daughter, the owner of a small restaurant at the market. Unfortunately, Soon-woo couldn't believe all of these stories and suspected that they were just made up by Bong-soon, who wanted to break up with him. On the other hand, Sung-jae finally learned about Sunna, who had been possessing Bong-soon's body all this time. The next day, at the restaurant, Soon-woo and Bong-soon seemed to be at odds, causing Min-soo and others to suspect that they were arguing. At the same time, Sunnae told Bingo about herself, who had once asked about her death to Sung-jae when she possessed Bong-soon's body, and she suspected that he intended to hit Bong-soon because of that reason. Meanwhile, Soon-woo, who still didn't believe Bong-soon's story, intended to take her to the hospital again, but she insisted that everything she said was not a made-up story. That night, Bong-soon, who was in the restaurant, was approached by Sunnae, who intended to warn Bong-soon to be careful of Sung-jae. Unfortunately, before Sunnae could say it, Soon-woo arrived, so Bong-soon told him about Sunna, who was in the room. To demonstrate, Sunnae moved the chair and touched Soon-woo's face until he became frightened and tried to understand all the events that happened around him. Feeling frustrated with the situation, Soon-woo went to drink alone while trying to remember all the odd behaviors of Bong-soon, and in a drunken state, he asked Bong-soon who the woman he liked all this time was. He also said he didn't understand why Bong-soon allowed the ghost to possess her. After hearing all these questions, Bong-soon confessed that she had liked him for a long time, so she tried various ways to get him, including asking Sunnae for help to get closer to him. Although Bong-soon had admitted everything, Soon-woo said he still needed time to think. The following day, feeling guilty towards Soon-woo, Bong-soon decided to forget her feelings by tearing her diary and leaving the restaurant. This made Sunnae unable to discuss about Sung-jae with Bong-soon, who now couldn't be contacted by her friends. On the other hand, Soon-woo, who entered Bong-soon's room, only found the necklace he had given to her. At the same time, Sung-jae, upon hearing about Bong-soon's departure, felt relieved because he felt Sunnae was no longer possessing her, and now he could start focusing on finding Sunna. Returned to Bong-soon, she appeared to wake up in Myung-ho's house after he saved her from fainting on the street. Myung-ho, suspecting she had left Sun Restaurant, allowed her to stay at his house for a while. Some time later, Sunnae finally met Bong-soon at Myung-ho's house, so she immediately told Bong-soon about her suspicions regarding Sung-jae related to her death. After meeting Bong-soon, Sunnae went to the police station to investigate by possessing a police officer named Kang. After conducting a search, she saw her diary in Sung-jae's locked drawer. Unfortunately, when Sunnae tried to open it, her actions were caught by Jin-goy, who had recovered and returned to duty. Jin-goy then spoke privately with Kang to express his suspicion of Sung-jae as the perpetrator of his attack. Jin-goy felt confident that Sung-jae was trying to cover up his involvement in the hit-and-run case of Ondi. On the other hand, Soon-woo accidentally found a torn piece of paper from Bong-soon's diary with a recipe for a cooking blog he always followed, realizing that she was the cooking blog writer he admired. Without hesitation, Soon-woo immediately went to her home address, which turned out to be inhabited only by Bong-soon's grandmother. Failing to find Bong-soon there, Soon-woo continued his search elsewhere. Meanwhile, Kyung-mo, seeing Bong-soon constantly sad, then went to meet Soon-woo to give him a lesson for making a good woman like Bong-soon cry. After that, Soon-woo finally learned about Bong-soon's whereabouts, prompting him to follow her to express his sincere feelings to her. At that moment, Bong-soon also expressed her longing, and they reconciled. When Sunnae saw the intimacy between Bong-soon and Soon-woo, she seemed to have accepted it and left them both. On another occasion, Sunna informed Bong-soon about Sung-jae's involvement in the hit-and-run case of Oni. Meanwhile, Sung-jae still questioned the whereabouts of Sunnae's until he realized scratches on his locker, assuming someone was trying to break into his drawer. Returned to Sun Restaurant, Min-soo and others began recruiting a new replacement employee for Bong-soon, but the new employee was immediately fired by Soon-woo because she couldn't work well. Soon-woo then contacted Bong-soon to return to work at his restaurant. After ending his call with Bong-soon, Soon-woo received a call from Jin-goy, who wanted to meet to discuss the hit-and-run case of Ondi, but Jin Goyo asked Sunwoo to keep their meeting secret from Sung Jae. Unfortunately, just as Jin Goyo was about to go meet Sunwoo with evidence of the hit-and-run case, Sung Jae suddenly entered the car and caused the car driven by Jin Goyo to crash into a ravine. In the end, Jin Goyo died before he could give all the evidence to Sunwoo. On the day of Jin Goyo's funeral, Sunwoo began to suspect Sung Jae's behavior, which seemed happy on the day of his colleague's death. Meanwhile, Sunhae and Bongsoon, knowing that Jin Goyo's death was related to Sung Jae, decided to inform Sunwoo about Sung Jae's crimes in the hit-and-run case of Eunhee, Jin Goyo's death, and Sunhae's death. Therefore, Sunhae asked Sunwoo to find Sunhae's diary hidden by Sung Jae. Sunwoo then remembered Sung Jae's past when he saved Eunhee when she was about to do the unthinkable. Since then, Sunwoo's family has been very fond of Sung Jae, but Sung Jae's criminal acts have changed Sunwoo's view of his brother-in-law. The next day, Sunwoo visited Eunhee's house to find Sunhae's diary, until he found it before Sung Jae arrived. Meanwhile, Bongsoon was listening to Myung-ho's testimony about the strange voice message that Sunhae sent on the day of her death, and shortly after receiving the message, he received a farewell message from his daughter. Strangely, Sunhae's phone has not been found until now. During the conversation, Bongsoon received a call from Sunwoo informing her that he had found Sunhae's diary. After that, they went to Bingo's house where Sunhae was also gathered with them. Sunwoo then handed over the diary, while Bongsoon brought Myung-ho's phone which could possibly provide clues from Sunhae's last message sent to him. After possessing Bingo, Sunhae began to discuss the 4 numbers written in her diary that they suspected to be a car license plate number. To confirm her speculation, Sunhae possessed Kung again and finally found out that the number was Sung Jae's car's license plate. Quickly, Sunhae informed Bongsoon. Unfortunately, Sung Jae found out about it and then strangled Kung because he knew Sunhae possessed the policewoman. Because of this, Sunhae remembered her death day when she was a witness to Sung Jae's hit-and-run. On the night of the incident, Sung Jae met his foster family whose lives seemed very happy. At that moment, Sung Jae intended to kill his foster father, but he changed his mind and chose to leave. On the way, Sung Jae, feeling sad, accidentally hit Eunhee, which made him panic, and an evil spirit suddenly possessed him. The influence of the evil spirit caused Sung Jae to lose his empathy, so he chose to crush Eunhee's leg and leave the scene. Unexpectedly, Sunhae witnessed the incident and immediately noted the perpetrator's car license plate and sought police assistance. When the police who arrived were Sung Jae with the same license plate car, Sunhae tried to escape, although she was caught and detained by him. She tried to leave a voicemail message to her father by typing the buttons of Sung Jae's car license plate number. Unfortunately, Sunhae was eventually killed by him, who then created a scenario, as if she did the unthinkable after jumping off the bridge. Back to the present, Sunhae reminded Sung Jae that all his crimes would be revealed before she finally escaped from Sung Jae, and went to Bingo to tell her about the vengeful evil spirit inhabiting Sung Jae's body. On the other hand, Bongsoon, who was waiting for Sunwoo to inform her about the hit-and-run perpetrator's license plate, she was suddenly kidnapped by Sung Jae. With Bongsoon's shoe left behind, Sunwoo immediately found and informed Bingo that Bongsoon had disappeared. At that time, Sunwoo also obtained information about Sung Jae, who had merged with the evil spirit and killed Sunhae, because she was a witness to Eunhee's hit-and-run. He then went to Eunhee's house to find another clue until he found a suitcase containing various belongings of the victim killed by Sung Jae. Although Eunhee asked about those belongings, Sunwoo chose not to tell her the truth about Sung Jae. Some time later, Sung Jae was identified by the police as the suspect in Bongsoon's abduction. On another day, Bingo tried to locate the evil spirit using her powers until she got a clue that Sung Jae was in a place full of children. This turned out to be true because Sung Jae was visiting the orphanage where he was once cared for. Meanwhile, Bongsoon was held captive in Sung Jae's residence provided by the orphanage. She didn't know where she was, but she smelled the scent of rosemary plants spreading in the room. At the police station, Sunwoo scolded the detectives for not finding Bongsoon's whereabouts, so he decided to search for her in places frequented by children. On the other hand, Sunny asked her ghost friends for help in finding Bongsoon, and one of her friends informed her that they had seen Sung Jae. Returning to Bongsoon, with the help of a ghost boy who kicked her phone towards her, she tried to contact Sunwoo, but since she couldn't say anything, he asked her to send a message. In that situation, Bongsoon could only send the message Rosemary. From that clue, Soon-woo remembered a letter from Sung-jae's orphanage near the herb garden. With all the clues, Soon-woo and the others were confident that Bong-soon was at the orphanage, so they hurriedly went to the location. The police then rushed to the orphanage after receiving directions from Soon-woo. Unfortunately, the police lost Sung-jae, who managed to escape with Bong-soon. Soon-woo and the others also tried to chase Sung-jae's car, while Bong-soon seemed to be trying to attack Sung-jae until she finally managed to get out of the car. Soon-woo felt relieved to see Bong-soon safe from a criminal like Sung-jae, who was now being chased by Bingo and Sunnae. Upon reaching a hill, Bingo used her powers to extract the evil spirit from Sung-jae's body. At the same time, Sung-jae, free from the evil spirit, remembered all his happy memories. Unfortunately, the evil spirit returned to his body, making him once again controlled by anger until Sung-jae, still conscious, chose to do the unthinkable with the evil spirit that had merged with his body. Sometime later, after Sunny's revenge ended, she finally could peacefully go to heaven. Meanwhile, Myung-ho, who learned the truth about his daughter's death, became very sad and fainted in front of the police station. On the other hand, Soon-woo appeared to be on a date with Bong-soon, who had become more lively like Sunnae, until he received a call from Kyung-mo about Myung-ho's condition, who had a brain hemorrhage due to shock. When Sunny saw her father about to leave the world, she tried to stop him and begged him to stay, so Myung-ho finally regained consciousness, which relieved Kyung-mo. Before leaving, Sunnae apologized and thanked Bong-soon for helping her uncover all the truths. Sunnae also bid farewell to Soon-woo, who now planned to send Eun-hee and Hae-young abroad to calm them. Using Bong-soon's body, Sunnae met Soon-woo at his restaurant to thank him for making her feel a love she had never felt before. Soon-woo also thanked Sunnae for revealing the truth about the hit-and-run case involving his sister. He also apologized for causing Sunnae to lose her life because of that incident. Soon-woo then hugged Bong-soon's body until Sunnae left without regret. A few days later, Sun Restaurant reopened with Bong-soon returning as an employee there. Soon-woo then continued to train her, even registering her for a cooking competition on television. With Bong-soon's improving talent and confidence, she received praise from the judges and became the third-place winner in the cooking competition. Unexpectedly, one of the prizes for the winners of the contest was a 2-year chef scholarship abroad, so Soon-woo reluctantly let Bong-soon pursue her dream of becoming a skilled chef. On the other hand, Bingo has become a famous ghost and evil spirit hunter. Min-soo was also promoted to head chef at Sun Restaurant after Soon-woo opened a new restaurant that employed Kyung-mo. Meanwhile, So-young was seen visiting Soon-woo's new restaurant with her new boyfriend. At the same time, Eun-hee has started her new life by running a flower shop. She also frequently visits the hospital to see Sung-jae, who survived but suffers from amnesia. Feeling guilty for not being able to remember his wife, Sung-jae often apologizes to Eun-hee, who hopes that his memories will never return. One day, Soon-woo was restless after Bong-soon didn't contact him for several months, and worried that many men might fall for her. Unexpectedly, the next day, Bong-soon suddenly came to Sun Restaurant and was warmly welcomed by everyone. She also visited Myung-ho and Kyung-mo at work before finally meeting Soon-woo, who missed her dearly. They both relieved their longing by spending time together. In the end of the story, it shows Bong-soon deciding to work at Myung-ho's restaurant, and after returning from work, she and Soon-woo are seen riding bikes together while enjoying the beauty of the park. Moral lesson from the story: remember, if your date smells like rosemary, it might not be the best sign. And if ghosts start helping you with your love life, it's probably time to take a break from dating.